Hi there folks, and welcome to another episode of Michael's 3D World. Well, the Ender 3 is going to end up driving me crazy if it keeps making this much noise. You guys have probably heard it in several of my videos in recent history. We hear this thing over here going wee, 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 wee. That's going to stop today. I've got a 4.2.7. Let me get it and show it to you. From Creality, a 4.2.7 silent board. This is just a little bitty guy. There's a link below on where you can get this off Amazon. This exact same board. And you can do the exact same thing I'm going to be doing here on my Ender 3. Now this is not an Ender 3 Pro or Ender 3 V2 or anything. It's just an Ender 3. It's at least a couple-year-old machine. And I want to make it quiet. And the technology wasn't here a couple years ago. Now the technology is here. This is the printer that I bought off my son when he bought a brand new Ender 3 V2. So I'm going to make this one as quiet as the Ender 3 V2 just by installing this motherboard. Let's jump in and I'm going to show you how to do it. Follow along. There again, I say follow the links below in the description. It'll show you all the parts and pieces that I use to make this thing quiet. Follow those links. Order your own parts. Get yours quiet like we got this one quiet. Much appreciated. Let's jump in right now. One of the first things you want to get, folks, if you don't have it, if you're working on these things, it's handy, is this little IFIXIT kit. Links below. This is so handy. It has all the right size of everything you need to make the job happen. So we're going to get in here. This has got a mirror bed on it right now. We're going to jump in here. There's one screw back here. Whoops, wrong size. That we need to remove. On these old Ender 3s, the motherboard's actually facing upwards versus facing downwards. If you saw some of my other videos, I actually replaced the Ender 3 V2 board. And you have to flip the machine upside down to get the job done. So let's go ahead and take these 3 screws out. And honestly, I haven't looked underneath here. I'm not really sure what to expect. We'll see how easy it is to get the stuff. Hopefully real easy. Now real quickly we can see that we got a little motherboard right down here. And it all looks pretty straightforward and simple to me. Now one thing you're going to notice, and I don't think I'll be able to get you in here close enough to see. Maybe I'll move this underneath a little more light so we can see a little bit better. How about that? Now like I did before, here I've got the brand new 4.2.7 board. It says it right there. We're going to go in here and wire for wire swap this out. But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and take the screws loose from the bottom to take this board, set this board free. To make it easier to get at. Now this board has some, my son had put on some smoothers on here, and I'm going to try doing it without the smoothers because it's a much newer board, and I may stick them back in just to do a test print later on. We'll see what mood strikes me. Now all these wires here are clearly labeled X, Y, Z, and E, and E is for extruder. So I just went in and pulled them apart without transferring them to the other board. The other thing you're going to find out with this one, since this one's already been messed with a little bit, there's this hot glue that they put on all these connectors to keep them from, I'm guessing, coming loose and shipping. I find it easy to just take the glue and grab it with some needle nose pliers and just peel it off of there. And then you can easily take things loose. Now these here, we want to make sure we get in the right spots for the fans. We don't want to mess that up. So now what I'm going to do is hold this one over here close. This board is loose right now. It's not tightened down in there at all. So one by one, I'm going to take each one of these fans loose in order down this board and plug it in. And we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 connectors here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 connectors here. But you gotta figure something out here, because this is a CPU fan. So one of these are gonna have to hook into one of over here. This board is a little different. If I remember right, there's a black and a red that goes up above here, and then this blue yellow comes down on the bottom one, if it's like my other board. I'm pretty confident that's the way it goes. So that this one will plug in up here. Make sure I got you guys in the shot. This one will plug in up here at the top, and this little fan wire here. There we go, we got some. This little fan wire here go right there. We got that one in place. And we'll just start at the far end here and work our way down. We'll replace that one in there. I know I can't get you guys tight enough in this shot to see what I'm doing very well, but I'm just working my way down. And replugging all these in one by one, so I keep them in the same order. Alright, now we got left is this red and black one here that'll go up here. But now I'm going to go after the main wires, which are holding go onto this green strip here, and 2 of them go in here. So we'll have to take those out one by one. So the first 2, I believe, go to the bed heater. So we'll get a little straight blade screwdriver out. And we'll back those 2 out. Alrighty, once you got all the wiring back in place, you should be able to turn it on. And I haven't put the 2 screws back up here yet because I want to make sure this fan is still kicking on, because this, it's been running a lot. I don't know if this fan's still good or not. We're going to see if it comes on while it's running. Now, the other thing I ran into when I powered it on is I did not get this screen. I got a blue screen. Apparently, myself and electronics don't always get along. Things that are plug and play for everybody else is plug and struggle for me. Well, so what I ended up having to do is take my little SD card, and I'll show you on my screen here in a bit. I put the SD card in, had to put a bin file on there, downloaded from Creality. It's the... Now, not every time is something plug and play, so I'm going to show you right here. Go to right up here, you can see on my screen here, creality.com/download. Then you're going to go to the Ender 3, because this is just an Ender 3. This is like a 2-plus-year-old machine here. But Ender 3, and then this is the one I downloaded. Ender 3 4.2.7 mainboard, 32-bit zip file. So you're going to click that, you're going to download it. Boom, it downloads, right? Then what you can do is you're going to go in there, open up that zip file, as you see here. You're going to go to 4.2, let's see here. Let me back up real quick. You're going to open this up, because I think this has nothing in it. Yeah. And we're going to look for since mine doesn't have any of the BL Touch on it, it's just the original version, the TMC 2225. And no filament detections on this one, and none of this. So this is the one you want to grab. Open that folder. Right here, you're going to see the Ender 3 Marlin 2.0.1 VO.06. Anyway, what you see right here. And it's a .bin file. You see the file type here, it says bin. You want to copy that file to a little SD card, a micro SD card, if that's what you have on the front of your printer. You want to copy that to your SD card. You're going to plug that in there into your machine with the power off. You're going to turn the power on, and it's going to flash the board with this bin file.
Once that's complete, you turn the machine back off. You can remove the card, turn it back on, and it should boot up, and you'll get the screen like you see here on my display now. It's that simple. It's not that complicated.
And it worked. So I'm not using the right terminology, guys, and that's probably part of my struggle. But the good news is it's up and running. Everything seems to work. I'm going to send a program over here. We're going to kick it right off here with a 5-part print. And this is a piece I designed that we're going to print. Actually, it's going to be a piece that's just part of this. Maybe I'll do the whole thing. Yeah, why the heck not? Let's just do the whole thing. And let's do 5 of them on here right out of the gate. And we're going to see how this thing sounds. Is this going... We'll see if that's gone now. If it's gone, then the operation was a success. Well, there you have it. She runs like a top again, and it's perfectly quiet on the servo motors. Don't hear a single squeak or noise or hum or anything out of those servo motors. It's absolutely wonderful now. The only noises we hear now are the fans on these 2 computers, and we're going to address the fans here next. So this is step 1 of this one. We're gonna, now that we got this working and running like I want to, I think I'm gonna go after this fan and the power supply fan next. So stay tuned as we dive into that. All right, now that we got the servo motors completely quieted down, we're gonna go to the next step. This is an upgrade that my son had put on here, and it works really well. But these fans are the stock fans, and they make a lot of noise. I'm gonna do the same thing I did over here on my Ender 3 V2. Let's take a look at that. As you can see, this has a different style of fan mount on there. We're going to put that style on this new machine, not this old machine I should say, because I really like these Noctua fans. They really do a great job. Not to mention, they are super quiet. So here's this will be in Thingiverse. I'll have a link down to it in my description, so check out my descriptions. This is a 2-piece. You print 1 piece and then the other. And there's actually a 3rd piece that goes along with it. And these slide together very nicely. There's room here for a little flathead screw, which I'll install. But as you can see, I've already got 1 fan mounted. The one thing that's nice about these Noctua fans and the kits that they come with, let me show you. Now I do apologize ahead of time for the fan noises coming from this guy because I haven't upgraded it yet. But we're going to get to that one soon. But on these fans, I guess these fan kits cost a little bit more. It's like $15 for this little fan, but you get some really nice, I think they're silicone maybe, mounts that are really nice for mounting this stuff. You don't have to have screws. You just pull it through and it holds it firmly in place. Then you just snip off the excess that you don't need. And the other nice thing about them is they come with a nice pigtail. They come with one thing that a little pigtail that converts it down to just 2 wires, your positive and negative, makes it really easy to identify. Along with other connectors and splitters, along with some splicing devices. Now, if you guys know me, I don't really like wire splices that much, but these work really well. And this is for indoor use, and these are like the same ones that the telephone companies use. They have a, from one guy told me, I thought it was just a Vaseline liquid inside, or Vaseline in there, that seals up the wires. Once you mash that, it splices the wire and seals it at the same time. The other thing I'm using this little guy here for is I'm going to actually direct splice my wire pigtail here. I've cut this off. I'm going to direct wire it into my wires that are already here. And I can quickly identify, which is really nice, by plugging this adapter in. I can identify which is my hot and my negative. So as you see here, this black goes to black, this yellow is the hot wire, so I don't need the green and the blue coming off of this one. So first things first, I'm going to go ahead and start taking this apart and get it down to where I'm ready to mount this back on, which is only going to take a very little while. We'll splice these wires back in, and then we'll go down back into the motherboard, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to wire that in. So let's get started taking it apart. I know I've mentioned it in my other videos, but if you don't have one of these iFixit kits, I'll have a link to the description below. These are so handy for working on everything. You're going to see me use it for everything on here other than the wire cutting and splicing. But of all the screws, this comes in handy for every bit of it. Let's jump in and start taking this apart. Pointing the direction of the airflow, we want to make sure that's blowing down in here. So we'll get that in the right direction. Arrow this way, blowing down that way. Alright, we've got all that wire tidied up there. There again, I just used the, I believe it was the yellow and black wire coming off the Noctua fans. Tied them into the existing wires. The fan that was on top, this one, was they had the blue and yellow wire, tied that together. The fan that was on the front, tied that together. So everything's nice and tidy now. All the zip ties are back in place. Step 2 is connecting it to the bottom end. The big difference is these fans here are 12 volt fans. The 2 fans we took off are both 24 volt. So we need to knock those down to 12 volt power supply coming to these fans to make them work. We're going to do that. We'll go ahead and lift this up out of the way. And we're going to go back down below here on the motherboard that we just got put in place. And we're going to disassemble the cover back off so we can access those fan connections. So we're going to take that screw off in the back, these 2 off in the front again. I'm going to go ahead and unplug that for now, just to get it out of my way. So one of the fans that were connected up top was this one here, this blue and yellow. So we're gonna need to take that down because this is coming off 24 volt. We're gonna have to plug this into we're gonna connect it to a buck converter and take it back down to 12 volt. I'm gonna do that. I'll show you the buck converter right now. Another thing that's handy to have if you're planning on working on some of this stuff is I bought a little box. It's got a dispenser for dispensing all this 24 gauge wire, which is really nice. Which I have my colors that are most popularly used. So I'm going to use the blue and yellow. The dispenser is nice because you can just pull what you need out of the box, cut it off. And here again, I'm going to use these splicers to extend my 2 plug wires. And there again, I've lined up the colors. I picked the colors so I can line blue on blue and yellow on yellow and not get confused about anything. Okay, now that I've got my wires spliced on, now a lot of times you could solder this. This wouldn't be no big deal to solder it either. I'm just taking advantage of something. Not everybody has a soldering iron, so I'm showing people how they can do it when they don't have the soldering tool. But now I can go back in here and plug this right back in. Just like that. And this 2 wires go to the upper fan, the blue and yellow go to the upper fan, and that only comes on because that's switched internally here by the motherboard. So when you're done with your first layer, then your nozzle filament cooler comes on. The other wires we're going to mess with are back here. These first 2 right here control the upper fan. I mean the main fan. And what I mean by the main fan is just this fan here. This fan here that's on all the time. So we're going to go after those 2 wires. They're on 2 screws back here. And so I'll use a black and red wire out of my kit to extend those 2 wires. All right, I did this for a reason, just so for ease of showing you folks what I want to do here. So what I've done is basically taken the existing wire coming off the plug, spliced it into 2 new wires coming off, and then spliced it back into the 2 wires that are going up to the nozzle, the cooling fans up at the nozzle. And the reason I did that is just so I can show you, I've got the loop recompleted again, but in the middle of that now, I'm going to put a buck converter in there. These are designed to take voltage at a certain level, a range, and detuning it down to another range. So this one here, you can look in the description. I'll have this down there. You can buy it. You'll solder, like you can see right here, it says in positive, in negative, out positive, out negative. And what we'll do is I'm going to cut these 2 wires now that I've put together, and I'll put them on here. So it'll break that connection coming off the board. Obviously coming off the board will be my in, going to my inside, and going up to the nozzle will be my out, and that will complete that connection. So the cool part is, let's get this. Now this is where you will have to do some soldering, because you need to solder these connections here to make it work. Alrighty, what I've done now is powered up the machine. Now that I've got everything plugged in, as you can see, this fan came on, or this light came on second, because I had to go over there and manually turn on the fan through Octoprint. The cool part is now I can set the voltage. So I'm going to put the black on the negative, the red on the positive, and as you can see, we're running about 22.5 volts. I'm going to go ahead and turn this little pot here down until I get her down to 12. Because these are 12-volt fans. There we go. There's 12 on that one. Let's go over here and do the second one. See, this is at 22.5. That was what the original machine was set at. That's what the board's putting out. And we'll take this down to 12 as well. $12 volts. All right, both buck converters are set. Now we can finish up our wiring. Next we want to do is power the machine back off. And then we'll disconnect the power cord. Well, as you can see there, both buck converters are now on. I turned that one on manually because that'll turn on automatically when it's running. And you can see up here now that we have both fans are operational. And here again, I'll go up here and I'll turn this one off. And there we go. Everything's operating as it should. Now what I'm going to do is print something. Now I've got the guts all hanging out here, but I want to make 2 little housings for buck converters to go into, so they can be encased, and I can just set them in here off to the side, nice and secure, and they won't be, none of the wires or nothing will short against itself. But I can go ahead and print with this open like this. It's not going to hurt a thing. I wouldn't recommend it for anybody. I'm doing this myself. Don't do it if you ain't comfortable with it, and definitely don't walk away from it while it's printing. Once we get everything buttoned back up, it'll be all nice and tidy, back to more or less factory type condition, and we can go from there. So right now we're going to go over and get ourselves off of Thingiverse, find us a butt converter housing that's really small and slim to put around these things. Alrighty, our butt converter housings have got done printing in there. I'm actually really happy with these. You can see I've got one already back in here. I'm going to show you how the other one goes together. These are really nice. Whoever designed these, kudos to them. They did a good job. They got a little locating pin down in here. And everything printed off and fits right in there really nice. Come on. Don't make a layer out of me. There we go. So that fits in there just beautifully. And then, on top of that, even better yet, take this little zip tie. You got a little zip tie hook in here. Right down in here like that. And when I lay those wires in there like this, I know my hand's probably in the way. But the wire zip ties can be brought right down and trap these wires right down against here to work as a strain relief. Now granted, these are really tiny zip ties, but yeah, it does the job. Let's get that right down. Look at that. Takes all the strain relief off the solder joint and everything. Let me just snip that off. We'll do the same thing to the other side. I'll put a link down in the description for these little zip ties too. It's just nice to have these around for doing wire management. So just like that, that bad boy is nice and tidy. And then they even designed a little access hole here. Now I've already set the voltage, but I mean, check this out. I mean, the design was really well, and my printer did a really good job here. But the nice thing is it's just a nice satisfying snap, and look at that. It's all encased. Now I can get this all tucked back down below surface here. All the wiring's out of the way. Everything's tidied up. I can now plug this fan back in. And everything fits. Holy smokes, everything fits. Look at that. We're right back in business, folks. Doesn't appear that anything's hitting that fan. Oh yeah. Spins freely. We're clear of all wires. I can put my screws back in. Wrap this job up. Well, good news is the CR10 power supply, or not power supply, fan upgrade I did is the exact same power supply that's on this Ender 3. So I'm going to use this exact same design I've got, which is going to be pretty slick. And the nice thing about these, you don't need a butt converter because these are already these fans are already 12 volt fans, and your Noctua fan are already 12 volt. So the cool part is I can go ahead and put this back on here, my new one, and this will be down in the description as well, where you can get that on Thingiverse. The cool part is I can put that right in there, just like this. And it's going to move a lot more air, and it's going to be a lot quieter. Alright, you guys gonna think this is pretty rich. I've got a couple zip ties holding up on here for now, just until the actual 92 millimeter fan shows up that I'm gonna plug on here. The cool part is, since it's already 12 volt on the 92 millimeter Noctua fan, I'll just be able to cut these wires off this fan, splice them right onto my Noctua, and it'll be plug and play right there, and then that'll be all tidied up, and I'll have all brand new quiet stuff on the whole machine. It'll be really, really cool. Until then, we're gonna print with it like that. My fans will hopefully show up from Amazon next week. You'll see all that. You'll see this video with it already done. You'll see me take this off and put the new one on. But all the links to everything, to all the products that I use, are gonna be down below in the description. So as soon as that shows up, we'll be able to wrap this video up. Until then, we're going to print some more stuff. Alrighty, there you have it. I've got the 92 millimeter, 92 by 14, I believe it is, Noctua fan onto the power supply. Now we're 100% Noctua supply. Noctua? However you want to pronounce that. Noctua. My son gives me a hard time about how I pronounce it. So it's supposed to be Noctua. But we're looking pretty good. This printer's been working really well since I've upgraded these fans. It still works. It works as good as it did before, only it's much, much quieter. That's the final conclusion on all the upgrades to this particular Ender 3. We're going to get a print going. I want to see if that fan kicks on, and those things are so whisper quiet, I won't be able to hear it over this noisy boy here for sure. That was the next victim whenever my fans show up, to get that one quieted down, quiet like this one is. Alrighty, we got her up and running again. She's printing, making some more boat cover parts. Awesome stuff. Alright folks, there you have it. That's what I've done to this Ender 3 to quiet it down fan wise. Now I can still hear this one over here. This used to be the noisiest machine in the little mini print factory I got going on here. Now it's probably absolutely the quietest, besides the one I've got in the enclosure down here printing all my ABS stuff. But yeah, it works well. Everything looks functional. I like the way it turned out. Some people don't like the color of these fans. Actually, I kind of like them. I think they're kind of a retro throwback look kind of thing. But I'm an old 70s, 80s kind of guy anyway. So then I hooked it up with this olive drab color here. You know me, I'm not all about you see all the different colors I got going on here. It's just fun to print stuff. I really don't care what color I print it in, to be honest with you. I'm not looking for an interior designer look on my print farm here. I'm just looking for functionality. But I hope you guys enjoy this. I hope you learned something. This is really cool how all this is working. It's a really neat and cool way to do things. I mean, they make these things so easy to make upgrades to, make changes to. It's not that hard. It's pretty straightforward stuff. Anyway, that's what I've done here. You guys have followed me from beginning to end. We put the board in, we put the fans on, we put another fan on the power supply with my own design. All this stuff will be in the links down below where I bought it from on Amazon, or if it's something off of Thingiverse, you will see a link to it to Thingiverse, so you can go and print and make your own upgrades, if you will. I'm pretty happy with it. Actually, this thing here was the noisiest thing I had going on, and I'd be over at my desk and I could hear it running. Now, when I hit print on it, it's crazy because I'm like, oh yeah, I need to check on that print, make sure it's going good. It's already been printing for 30 minutes because usually after it warmed up, I'll be doing something else and it'll take off, and I'd hear it take off. I'd come over and check it. Now I come over here and it's already 30 minutes into a print going, yeah, it looks like it's running good. So, anyway, I'm pleased. You guys get out there, do something fun. Don't be afraid to try something new. This is Michael saying, hit the thumbs up if you like what you see. Don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button. It's much appreciated. And we'll see you on the next video. This is Michael, and I'm out.